Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Invisible Condition. It's not all in your head. I'm your host, Jeff Pearson. We created this show for you, just for you, because we want everybody with an invisible condition to absolutely know that you have a voice, you have a community, and you are not alone. No matter how you feel, you're not alone. And speaking of not alone, I have an amazing guest today. His name is Jeremy Butler, Dr. Jeremy Butler, actually, if you want to be official about it. In 2019, Jeremy Butler was actually diagnosed with bipolar disorder type 1. And according to the National Institute of Health, bipolar I disorder is actually defined by like manic episodes that last about a week, like up to a week, and then the manic or by manic symptoms that are so severe that the person needs like immediate like medical attention. It's crazy. And then usually depression can last up to like 2 weeks. So it's a thing, it's a big deal. Jeremy hasn't let bipolar define him though, obviously. Jeremy enjoys, baseball, traveling, science fiction, heavy metal, video games. I mean, he's got a bachelor's degree in history, Master's of Divinity, and a Doctor of Ministry degree, which blows my mind. I was never the guy to go to school, man. So good on you, Jeremy. He has served as a missionary in Asia, a pastor for 6 years in New Mexico, and presently serves as a campus missionary with Christian Challenge at the University of Arizona, which is awesome. I love Arizona. So welcome, Jeremy. Welcome to the show, sir.
Well, thank you. And you can just call me Jeremy. Only two people call me doctor, and that's me and myself and I. Oh, that's three, I guess.
All three of you, huh?
Yeah. My mother, when I got it, says, "Hello, doctor." She said, "That's the last time." I said, "Okay, whatever."
Nice. I love it. Some people really like the doctor, like my father-in-law has a doctorate degree in economics, but I don't think I've ever called him doctor. So yeah, it just depends on the doctor, I suppose,
Yeah.
So
I tell my wife she needs to learn how to call me doctor more, and she just laughs and because it's a joke. I said, "Why doesn't anybody call me doctor?" Jokingly, she goes, "How many people know you have one?" I said, "Probably hardly nobody."
Well, then
people were shocked sometimes to find out. Like,
I hate to say it.
I got it. You have a doctorate?
You did what?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, then it's your own fault, man. I don't know what to tell you. You got to spread the word a little bit, put it on your business card or something. But anyway, man, this is awesome. I'm glad to have you on the show. This is going to be fun. So you were diagnosed with bipolar about, what are we? Is it 2023 already? About 4 years ago. So tell us about that time. Like, what types of symptoms made you think something was going on? Why not until 2019? Like, why not before that? What was going on?
Well, I really believe I know I had it before then, but I think part of it was just the stress of being a pastor. And when I say that, being a pastor necessarily ain't more stressful than other jobs, but I was just working a lot, and I was finishing my doctorate, and I was working about 100 hours a week. And there are just things that weren't normal for me. I'm talkative. I'm silly. I kind of think of strange ideas. For example, I always thought it'd be a cool idea to remake Star Wars Episode 4, A New Hope, and bring in Star Trek, The Next Generation cast with the Enterprise and blow up the Death Star. And I mean, but imagine me coming up with like 100 ideas of that, like in a day or an hour. And, for example, there was days that I would, like, there's a 2-week period in 2019 when one night I drove to the gym and to Walmart 4 times 3 or 4 times that night. The problem is the gym and Walmart was 45 minutes away.
Oh, jeez.
So the next night I drove to El Paso, Texas, which was 3 hours away, just to drive and see if there's a movie I could watch. There wasn't, because it was like 2 a.m. Yeah, I know you can figure out. That's not normal.
No.
I would talk very fast, change ideas. I mean, my wife would sometimes say, "Stop. We were talking about what to have for dinner tonight on Sunday night, and you mentioned that there's this country you want to go to in 2 years that let's stop. Let's talk about food. Let's not talk about this."
Yeah,
I was very irritable, just very irritable. Like my wife says, she felt like she had to walk in eggshells because she could tell me like something as simple as, "Hey, I love you," and I'd be like, "Well, what'd you do? Like, why do you feel the need to tell me?" Or like, "Why? Is something wrong?" Or she could say something like, "You've lost weight. You're looking good." Well, did I not before? Things would just like do that.
Yeah.
I had like 8 projects going at one time. I started a church Facebook page, an Instagram page, a Twitter page, a YouTube channel, a personal YouTube channel.
Wow.
I started a 5-year series of sermons, 3 or 4 different ones. Like I started writing a book, and I never finished them in that time period. I just kind of had them all going. I'd work all night. My wife would wake up like 2 in the morning, and I would be like nowhere to be found. She'll call me, and I said, "Well, I'm in Denny's in Silver City, New Mexico." "No, I drove to Denman, which is farther away." "Why?" I don't know. I just did. And weird things like that. And then it would go like from a week or 2 of that, probably about 2 weeks, to where I would sleep like 12 to 14 hours a day. So you're talking about me sleeping like an hour a night, maybe, to 12 to 14 hours a day. And then I'm like, "I'm not going to do anything." And she's like, "Well, do you want to go watch a movie?" "No." Do you want to watch a baseball game on TV?" "No." "Do you want to watch Star Trek?" "I don't watch Star Trek anymore. It bores me." Okay. And stuff like that. And, around the same time, I also found out I was diabetic, which we can get to in a little bit, but there seems to people who have bipolar disorder tend to have higher risk of being diabetic. And my blood sugar was like 400 on average. And that, I think, it all plays together some. But the point is I wasn't taking care of myself. I was, I'd go like 2 weeks and I'd go eat like McDonald's 4 times in a day. Then I'd go for like 2 weeks and hardly eat anything. And I'd gain like
not healthy.
8 pounds in 2 weeks, and I'd lose like 12 pounds in 2 weeks.
Gee.
And, just random things like that. It was just really just kind of weird. It's hard to explain to people, but during the manic part of it, I felt good. My wife hated it. During the depression part, I hated it, and my wife hated it. So it's like, there was nothing in the middle for like a while. And I think just stress just kind of brought it out, if that makes sense.
I bet. Yeah. Stress is a dangerous thing anyway. I mean, if you get too stressed, I mean, talking about working that many hours in a day, your body doesn't like that. And sometimes it makes it known very obviously, and sometimes it waits a little bit and then makes it known a little less obvious, but it can be serious.
Yeah.
But let me just throw this out there. Anybody out there watching right now in the audience, has anyone else dealt with bipolar? Because personally, I have not. You're actually the first person that I've actually had this much conversation with that to actually talk about it with about bipolar. So this is going to be amazing. But anybody else out there that has experience with anything like that, let us know in the chat. If you're watching on Facebook, it's super easy to chime in on the chat, and we'll we can chat with you. It'll be fun. So so we're doctors. So when you went in 2019, so it started in 2019, but you didn't started before, but 2019 is when you started going down the diagnosis road, right? That's
yes. I can look back and see that I had issues before, but basically my wife just said, "You're either going to the doctor yourself or I'm going to take you to a psych ward." It was to that point. And
Well,
I said, it's that bad? And she goes, it's not normal to stay up for a week or two and get like, 10 hours of sleep in a 2 week period and feel fine, and then sleep, 14 hours a day.
yeah,
That's not just normal,
no,
and it's true. I was sick. That's the thing people forget about the mental illness. And I think when I was growing up, I was born in 79. So in the 90s, when I was going to high school, I
yeah,
kind of felt like it was not talked about a lot. And I'm going to say this, and people can disagree with me on this, but I feel like now it's almost like it's some people use that as an excuse, not majority of people, but it can be. And you can get bad advice on social media and bad advice on the internet. So you have to be
yeah.
wise. Go to a doctor, go to a primary care physician, see a psychiatrist, get diagnosed by a professional. But pretty much, he said you need to go see what's going on. And then basically, I went to my primary care physician. I said, I'm this is what's going on. And he says, that's not normal. We're sending you to a psychiatrist. And we talked and looked at my blood work. And then through a couple, like 3 or 4 visits in 2 or 3 months, I got a
Mhm.
diagnosis. It wasn't just like I went in and they said, oh, this is what you have. There was blood work involved. There's other things they had to look at before they would just, for my case, just say, this is what it is.
I mean, that's good though. You don't want to jump to conclusions. That's where things get
Mm,
scary. So
mm.
that's yeah. If they did their due diligence, and honestly, that diagnosis time is not terrible. I'm impressed uh, that got done that in that short amount of time. That's fantastic. So you must have had some good doctors. That's good thing. Do you still see the same guy or the same?
No, since I moved here, I don't. But
Oh, you moved. Yeah.
yeah, since I moved to Tucson, I don't. But I now have actually better care because there's more. My psychiatrist had to be like I had to do like video consultations from Florida, just because of a small area. But she did really good, um and but yes, here in Tucson, there's a lot better care. And there's actually I get to see a specialist for my diabetes, and
Yeah.
like there's people that they recommend and that they know that are psychiatrists that they can send you to, and things.
Nice.
Um, and so that's a good thing about living in a bigger city.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. No, I agree. I grew up in a much smaller town than I live now, and it's probably 5 or 6 times the size of my hometown. And there's so much more available medically. I mean, just all around. I totally get it. Um, what so what solutions like did they automatically tell you had to be on medication, or did they try some non-medical stuff first, or did they just say, you know what, this is what it is, this is how we treat it, here's your meds?
Um, at first, it was like at first they sent me to a counselor, and while they figured out like kind of a diagnosis,
Hmm.
because like one of the things they say is if you have this, like if it's regular depression, which depression isn't regular, but I mean it's not normal, but what I mean, like standard
I know what
depression.
yeah, just depression, yeah.
Yeah, you typically are given something like say Prozac, which I do take, but with bipolar they typically give you other things, so it's kind of like they need to kind of figure out what the diagnosis is. They wanted to make sure I didn't have anything like they did a brain scan or like they did a scan on my head because they want to make sure I didn't have anything like a tumor in my head because that
Yeah,
small chance, but there is a chance in that, and they wanted to check all that, get my blood sugar under control a little bit, and
yeah,
that does help. Like exercise, diet, blood sugar under control can help. But yeah, they put me on mood stabilizers, and that really helped. I was fortunate; the first one they put me on helped, and it wasn't like a silver bullet, but it was like I noticed, like in maybe a month's time, that things were like seemed a little different. I don't know if that makes
yeah,
sense.
yeah. No, it takes time sometimes, especially with those types of drugs. It takes time, to see the results sometimes, because it has to build up in your, correct me if I'm wrong, but sometimes those kind of drugs have to build up in your system a little bit and then you maintain it by continuing to take it, right?
Yes, and some of those drugs can be, I don't know if this makes sense. They do blood work to make sure you don't have too much or too little.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's important.
And that's important. And this is one of the things that we might talk about later too. But typically, people with bipolar have to go through sometimes several medications to see if it works.
Yeah.
Several doctor's visits in a 2 or 3 month time period, maybe longer. And also a thing is 75% of bipolar people with bipolar take their medicine less than 75% of the time. And part of the reason is, at least from my experiences, you do feel better in a way, but you don't have those elevated moods, and you're just like, you don't feel on top of the world as much. You feel more, I guess, I don't know, normal. I don't know if that's the best way to say it, but you don't get that elevated mood swing, so you don't feel like you can do all the stuff. But at the same time, you don't have the low lows. And but to me, it kind of mellowed me out on both ends. I still have the highs and the lows, but it's not like going from it'd be, the best way to describe it would be like, the old school roller coasters that maybe go up 100 feet and down 100 feet. It'd be more like that rather than the Texas Giant or something that goes up to 500 feet and goes down 500. So you're still, I hope that makes sense. You still have that, or at least I do, but it's not near as extreme.
Totally. It's like it's highs and lows, but it's not this highs and lows. It's this highs and lows, right? So it's less of an extreme. So I totally get it. Yeah.
And medicine is not a silver bullet with anything.
No.
And I just want to say this: people mean well with anything, and let people listen to people if they want to help you. But maybe I shouldn't say it's pet peeve, but it kind of is with diabetes, with anything. People will say, well, if you're diabetic, don't take the medicine. You need to do this. Well, that's good and great. But I've lost 120 pounds in 6 years. I'm still trying to lose weight. But it's probably going to be where I take medicine the rest of my life because of my genetic disposition. And the same with bipolar. I'm not saying everybody will need to take medicine the rest of their life, but a lot of people will. That's what you need to talk to your doctor about. And just before you give people advice, if you've not been through it, be very careful on that, if that makes sense. Because people who are bipolar live on average 9.2 years less than the average population. Tend to have other health issues such as diabetes, high blood pressure, migraines, obesity. And part of that is they think because it's hard for them to stick on a plan, like diet plan, exercise. And the rate of suicide is between 10 and 30 times higher. An untreated person with bipolar, 20% of them die by suicide. With 7 million adults in the U.S., that's a lot of people.
That is a lot of people.
So that's why we want people treated, whether that's through medication or a counselor or a combination. It needs to be taken very seriously, if that makes sense.
100%. Yeah, it does make sense. And you should take it seriously because it's a real thing. Yeah. You can't skirt around that. So, well, Jeremy, I've got some other questions I want to ask you about your family and stuff, but we got to go to a break right now, and we're going to go just for a couple minutes. We'll be gone, and then we will be back. So I'm gonna take you off the screen for just a second, and then we'll see you after the commercial break. We'll be right back. All right, guys, here we go. We'll see you on the other side of this break. Thanks for being here, and I can't wait to talk more about Jeremy and his family life and everything going on there. So stick with us. We'll see you soon.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Russell. I'm the host of TechnologyTuesday.com. You can find us on the Conscious Business TV network every Tuesday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for the latest resources to help you make more money in your business. Join us on E360 TV. Come on.
All right, and we're back. Thanks for sticking around, everybody. This is great. Welcome back, Jeremy. Here we are. So I saw there was something I wanted to ask you before the break, but I didn't want to run into commercial break. So you have, am I reading this right? You have a black belt in karate?
I do.
Get out of here.
I got it when I was in high school, and I actually enjoyed martial arts. I did about every sport I could. From soccer. I still don't understand the rules of soccer. I played 4 years. I still don't know how to play it for real. I played football. I played baseball. In fact, when I was in little league, I laughed because I think I had 5 home runs and like 50 strikeouts, and that was a coach pitch. That was horrible. And in basketball, I was really bad. I think I could score 2 points the like 4 or 5 years I played. I was in the golf team, and only person that knocked my coach out with a golf ball and this club. But I just enjoyed like different things. But yes, I started when I was I think I was 14 years old. I started taking karate, and I got my black belt when I was 18.
Wow.
It was like a week before I graduated. And I would have, in college, I took another style of karate for a year. And then I took some Brazilian jiu-jitsu and during my master's, but I had to quit taking stuff because I've had non-eye surgery, so I can't do it. But I really enjoyed taking it. I wasn't that's the one thing I like about martial arts is you don't have to be really that great at it to benefit from it and enjoy it. I just thought it was fun, and I still enjoy studying about it. And I always grew up liking Hong Kong kung fu movies, even though I never understood them because at the time they were all non-translated when I ordered.
I was going to say that's what the subtitles are for, but you're saying.
Well, yeah, but at the time when we ordered them, they were straight from Hong Kong, no subtitles.
Yeah, man. And there was no such thing as Google Translate at that point, probably. So
that's very true. Or YouTube, you can find a lot of those on YouTube, and they're translated. And I think they were funnier untranslated.
Oh, well, that doesn't help. I mean, then you just watch the fight scenes, and it's fun, right?
Very true.
Those things blow my mind too. I don't know how they do all that stuff. It's almost like there's got to be special effects, but they're probably not. So how do they do that with their bodies? It's crazy. But oh man, so there's a lot of people that say they struggle with depression. I mean, there's like you said, like ADHD, for instance, like that is one of the most overdiagnosed things. I don't doubt that there's people that literally legit struggle with it and need help and need medication. But there's so many people out there. How do you tell the difference between standard depression and bipolar depression? Is there a difference there?
There is, and that's where getting professional help will help you because, for one thing, bipolar tends to. One of the questions I ask you: has anybody in your family been diagnosed? And I had an aunt that was, and there's some correlation between people with blood relatives that have it. It tends to runs in your family for some reason. But the biggest issue is, I want to say this: standard depression isn't any better. Like, it's not easier than bipolar depression, and bipolar depression isn't worse than standard depression.
Okay.
I think bipolar depression feels worse to a lot of people because with standard depression, you're kind of like here, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And you drop. Where bipolar depression, we talked about that roller coaster, you're way up here, and then you feel really good. You almost feel like you're like a god, like Thor. You can do anything, and then you're down here you feel like you're nobody. Like I
Yeah.
think it feels worse, and I think that's why with bipolar disorder left untreated, there's such a high rate of suicide. But the main difference is you have that mania, the total opposite, and then there's some studies that show that people with bipolar depression tend to wake up earlier in the morning and have trouble, meaning they have, I guess, trouble sleeping, not sleeping as well. And then they tend to be, their mood swings tend to be very moody early in the mornings, stuff like that. But overall, it's the same depression. It's just you have the added manic episodes in it. And if you look it up, it used to be called manic depressive disorder or different things. But yes, that's the difference. Is you have the mania, you have the elevated mood, then you have the depression that goes with it, either before or after.
So it's like it's more extreme because you're going from because you've got such a huge range that you're dealing in.
It makes a lot of people with bipolar makes them feel like their depression is more extreme when it probably really isn't. But that's what makes it hard sometimes is you have to get diagnosed with a professional, because if you've been depressed for a long time, even normal can seem like you're elevated when it's really not.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Sure. Yeah. No, I get it. So what are, I mean, you know, movies and TV aside, what are the, I mean, because, you know, they don't usually get it right. You know, if there's a movie with somebody with bipolar or depression, or, you know, it's hard because Hollywood can't help themselves. They have to sensationalize it. Right. So what are some misconceptions that you've run across about bipolar?
Oh, there is a lot. Number one, I think, is that's not that serious. And I hate to pick on anybody, but I will, because he's kind of.
Why not?
I'm not trying to pick on him, but Kanye West is kind of, Kanye West is made, well, he says he has bipolar. I have no idea if he's been clinically diagnosed. Yeah. But if he is, it might make a little bit of sense the way he goes from one extreme to another. But he said stuff that's not helpful, like, I do better when I'm bipolar and aren't treated because I'm more creative. Well, yes, you can be, but that's not really helpful to people. That's a mix. That's a misunderstanding. You're not doing better. You're just, you might not be as creative in some ways, but honestly, when you're treated, you can be more productive, if that makes sense.
Yes.
And that leads to another misconception, is that with bipolar, you can't be productive. There's a lot of people that are productive that have bipolar or have had. For example, Ty Cobb was a baseball player.
Oh,
he was just, if you read about him, he was just mean. People didn't like playing with him. But they think he had bipolar disorder. Winston Churchill, they believe, had it.
What?
Carrie Fisher had it.
Oh, yeah. You know what? I think I did hear about that. Yeah, Carrie Fisher.
Catherine Zeta-Jones is bipolar.
Wow.
And the famous preacher, if you've ever heard of him, Charles Spurgeon.
Oh, yeah.
Many people believe he had it because he went from super lows to high highs. Huh. And so, but you can be very productive. I mean, I have my doctorate. And so that's a misconception. I think another misconception is that it's not serious. It's very serious.
Yeah. It can't, I mean, with some of the stuff you were describing about just taking off, and I mean, you don't know, I mean, it can be dangerous, straight up dangerous, sometimes if you get especially if it's, I wonder, like, if it was a little kid, like a elementary age child, I mean, if they take off out of the house, that could be terrible.
Yes. And most people are diagnosed, they say, between ages 15 and like 25.
Oh, okay.
So, but imagine having a 15, 16-year-old that you're like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And I think that leads, like, it's very serious. People need help. And I think that issue leads to two other misconceptions people have.
Okay.
Number one is they think, well, since there's no cure, just like there's no cure for diabetes, right?
I mean, yeah.
There's still hope. You can live a normal life with both. And there may be a case you need to talk to your doctor that you can maybe live a life normally without medication, but that needs to be talked between you and your doctor.
Right.
Research shows that people on medication tend to do much better when they take it, but that's something you need to talk to your doctor about and go to the doctor regularly. And there is hope because many things can help: exercise, diet, sleep. Find out if you have other things like diabetes. If you have diabetes, keeping a proper blood sugar level keeps that better, because if your blood sugar is high, my wife knows either my blood sugar is high or either I'm not taking my bipolar medicine because I'm just not myself. And for example, they changed my diabetes medication back last October, and my mom, mother-in-law, and sister-in-law came to visit our new house in Tucson.
Nice.
And I hadn't completely moved yet. My wife was here, and my wife goes, check your blood sugar. I checked, it was like 400. She goes, go take a nap. I was like, what's going on? She goes, you're just cranky and you're not like normal. And but that's what I'm saying is those two things can feed off each other to some degree. Your blood sugar is out of whack, you're not going to be normal to begin with, and it can change the way you act mentally too. And so just being healthy in general help that. And so, and then another misconception is, like I said, there's no hope. There is hope, and there's ways to get help. And I just want people to know that there's hope for people and their family members with bipolar. There's always hope. And if this has sounded negative, I'm not trying to be negative because I'm more of a dreamer. My wife is a realist. Like I can sit there and say, this is what I want to do. Well, how are you going to do it? I don't know. It sounds good.
Don't bother me with details. Come on.
No, but you need to understand the reality, and but no, there's hope. And someone bipolar may never be like normal like you think, but honestly, people are shocked that I'm bipolar. A lot of people are. Then some people are like, that makes a lot of sense the way you acted in college or high school, that you're just woo, left the party, then you don't want to talk to anybody like within the same day or 1 week and the next week. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah. I get, looking back, I bet there's lots of stuff you see that's that's like
and
that.
Another misconception is that bipolar 2, and there is a third one and some other ones. There's a third one that is like that you kind of go through the same like very quick cycling. But bipolar 2 is where you don't have mania as long or as serious. And people think that means it's milder. No, it's not. It's different. It's not. One's not more serious than the other per se. And they're just a different diagnosis of the same disease. The best way I could describe it is diabetes. There's type 1 and there's type 2. They're the same disease, but they're different in a sense. So, but you can study that, and the doctor can help you understand the differences if you want to know about that. But they're both very serious. There's hope, and there's places to get help.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, and that was going to be my next question is with churches and religious organizations and things like different ministries out there. What can they do to help people with bipolar? Is there anything out there?
There is. One of the things is there's several. There's a lot of organizations you can go to. There's one called New Life Ministries, and their website is newlife.com. Okay. And they're a counseling type ministry. They have a radio program. Nice. They actually have a group of counselors, and it's from a Christian perspective. And if you're a pastor or religious leader, know when you can help somebody, send them to a professional. Number 2, take it seriously. I feel like the church and the church in America does a lot of good things. They feed a lot of people. They help a lot of people. People are negative on the church. They do a lot of good things. But one area we could do better is with mental health, because I think we've seen the extremes on both sides. We've gone from where we don't talk about it to where, well, I have ADHD and you really don't. It's just an excuse. And some people can use bipolar as an excuse to do things that they shouldn't do, and that's not right either. But people in a church can be empathetic and listen. They can help them find a counselor. They can encourage them to see a doctor. And, there's someone in Christianity that would say, the church that would say, if you just have enough faith, you're going to be fine. Well, that's not always the case. There's many people who have been have lots of faith, but have struggled with depression or other medical issues. So I always say like this: your brain is an organ, just like your pancreas is an organ or your heart is an organ.
Yeah.
Why would you tell somebody who's having a heart attack now go see the doctor just to kind of ask God for help? You should always ask God for help. I believe in miraculous healings. I do, but day to day, I see God working through doctors to give you, you pray. I prayed that God would help heal me. Well, he gave you a doctor. That's the way a lot of times it works. But tell them the brain is an organ. They might need help, and it's affected the same way other organs are. Sometimes it doesn't work correctly, and help take away the stigma of needing help mentally. And I'll be honest, when I was a pastor, I was kind of afraid at first to tell people, because I thought, what if they don't understand? And when I started telling people, they're like, well, we can see why you thought that, but overall, people have been very supportive.
Yeah.
Some people are like, I don't understand what bipolar is, but just listen and try to send them someplace where they could get help. And in fact, there's this book here. It's called Understanding and Loving Someone with Bipolar Disorder, and you can find it on Amazon, or if you call New Life Ministries, they might send you a copy. But it can help you understand if your family member has it, how to help them, and also if you have it.
Yeah.
Help me understand what my wife's going through, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's where some of those books come in so handy. We got to go to the last break of the show, and then we'll come back. But I want you to talk a little more about that book, because it's it's not your book. We're not trying to we're not trying to sell it or anything. But you said it helped you, so I want more people to know about it, just in case it'll help them. But yeah, we're gonna go to a break. So I'll see you in just a minute, Jeremy. We're gonna go to one last break before the end of the show, and then we're gonna talk more about that book a little bit, and then we're gonna talk about the best part. We're gonna talk about hope, because there's always hope, no matter how deep you are in whatever you're struggling with. There's always hope. So we're gonna talk about that as soon as we come back. We'll see you then. we're back. This is my favorite segment right here. This is my favorite segment, Jeremy, because I like to talk about I as somebody with an invisible condition myself, that I've had since I was diagnosed at 2 weeks old. I cannot just sit in the crap of it and just be depressed and mad and why is this happening to me? I have to have hope or I have nowhere to go. So, right, without hope, you can't carry on. So I want to know, in all of what you've done and all of what you've gone through, how do you find hope day to day on the most challenging days?
For me, there's some big things you can do and small things. Number one, I think it's my faith. I think this is one area the church needs to realize as Christians, people have real hurt, have real pain. And, I always remember in John chapter 11, the story of Lazarus, when Jesus rose him from the dead. And I would have been so mad as Lazarus. I tell people when I talk about this, I would have been so upset at Jesus. I've been like, I was in heaven, right? And you brought me back.
Come on.
And it says Jesus wept, and I think we glance over that in the Western world, but I've heard people speak, that are missionaries, and I experienced this overseas. That holds a lot of hope to people in third world countries where their family are devastated by things like AIDS or famine or different things, or their families killed because of their political or religious affiliation. And Jesus didn't weep and cry because Lazarus was dead. He knew he was come back to life. He knew where he was. It's because, for two reasons, he was upset that the people were in pain, and number two, he empathized with them. And I think we need to realize we have a Savior that cares for us, and we should cry out to him. And I know probably not everybody on the show is a Christian, but we can, we as Christians believe that if you believe, we've all what we call sin. I've lied before. I've disobeyed my parents. My mom could tell you a doozy of a story when I was 16. My mom 5 foot tall. She told me do something. I said, you can't make me. I have a red belt in karate. And she chased me around the house, and I tripped and fell. And I never said that again. But, not a good idea to tell your mom no. And she was telling that story, and I said, you add stuff to it. It's my prerogative as a mother to add to the story.
Right.
But, I asked Jesus for forgiveness. I've followed him. I believed in his death and resurrection for me, and that, we can be saved from our sins. But also now we have a hope that he understands when we are weak. And in the book of Hebrews, it talks about him being a high priest, and that picture is in the Old Testament. The high priest would go before God, before the people, go to God before the people. But it's talking about we have a God, we have a Savior who understands our weaknesses because he lived as a human. And so he can empathize with us. And we need to help people understand that it's not just some pie in the sky thing, but he can really be there. And we need to be love and empathize with them. And that's one thing that leads to the next is just telling people. I think there's power in telling people and being able to have people help you. And like my wife can know when I'm going through things, and other people. And like this book, just, it helped me to understand what my wife's going through and family members. But also small things you could do is, number one, get proper sleep. That just helps with everything. And it's hard being bipolar sometimes to do that. Number two, do some things you enjoy. I tend to be a workaholic, and that's not good in itself. But, of course, my wife's going to get on to me because I'm going to say this, and she's going to tell me to take my medicine in this, take vacations, whatever that looks like, but take time off. And one of the things that my psychiatrist made me do is, she says on Fridays, of course, COVID messed us up because in New Mexico, everything was closed for 2 years.
That messed everything up.
This is doctor's orders. Fridays, I want you to leave and drive an hour away, and I want you to go watch a movie. And I want you to go get something to eat for lunch. I don't care if it's a movie you want to see or already have not seen. you need to get away and do something that takes you away from work and away from things. And that helped. Going to the gym helps. Honestly, a good thing for me. And we have a dog. My wife got me a dog. He's a Great Dane Cane Corso mix. He's a year old. He's, how do I say it? He gets on your nerves sometimes. He's
huge.
He's a 100-pound goofball, but but really, with some people, research has shown like a pet can help. But where that helps me is it helps me because we have to walk him 4 to 6 miles a day, so that helps me get out. So he's wanting, even in the morning when I don't feel like it, it gets me out. I feel better afterwards.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. He's up at a certain time. I have to get up at a certain time. He wants to go to bed by midnight. I need to go to bed by midnight. He, kind of helps regulate me. And then going to the gym, trying to eat correctly, finding things you enjoy doing. I know this sounds silly, but if you, even something small, such as if you're driving home and you have a song that you want to listen to before you get home, spend an extra 5 minutes driving around and listen to it. Go get some coffee or tea if you enjoy it sometimes. Just go and do some things you enjoy. Those are just some basic things you can do. Seek medical help, get the help you need. But those are some things that's helped me. I say my faith is number one, then the support of my family and friends, and then these other things have really helped me. And by the way, sleep is great. And there's an author who talks about spiritual naps. And he says, sometimes Christians are too holy for your own good. Too holy. But he says sometimes we get so busy, we need a nap. We can't function if we don't get the rest we need. And there's truth to that.
Seriously.
If you're just like, you've hit a wall and you're like, I can't take it, go take a 2-hour nap and you'll be amazed how much better you feel. At least I do. Or watch a movie. I watch, I love stupid movies. I've gone through like almost all the 100 worst movies of all time. I know that's kind of silly, but if there's something you enjoy, do it. And it can help you do some structure to it. Do it like, like if every night you need to do this, like read something or watch a TV show, watch part of a baseball game, something to help your mind to kind of do better. And exercise has shown that it helps your mind deal with stress better, if that makes sense.
Totally.
That's why.
You know what? I think that is more overarching than you even think, than bipolar. I mean, my condition is not mental, is not a like a mental type thing primarily. It's physical. I mean, there's a device that helps me stay alive and stuff, and it's in my brain, and there's physical aspects to it that help me. But I tell you, some of the same things you were just saying, I'll do this. I've done some of those. I've done most of those actually over the years. I've learned to do a lot of those, like go, if I see something that catches my eye on the road, I'll be like, you know what? I got nowhere to be. Or even if I do, I'll loop around again and go drive by it slower or park and look at them like, oh, that's really cool. Or like a house I see or a car or, just don't feel so rushed all the time. That's people get so rushed. They're in such a big hurry all the time. So that's, So what's your favorite way to share? We got a little bit of time left. What is your favorite way of sharing hope with other people?
Well, I just, one of the things about my job here at, the University of Arizona with the Christian ministry I'm part of, the Christian Club, Christian Challenge, which is a Baptist like club in some parts of the country they call Baptist Student Union or other things, is I've had the chance to join a group on campus with other clubs and different like professors and people to how do we help students who are dealing with mental illness. And number one, I can listen to them. I can understand where they come from if they deal with bipolar, and give them hope and just listen.
Yeah.
But also, I try to give them the hope that I found in God, and just say, this has helped me, and I just tell them that believing in Jesus has helped me, following Him, reading the Bible, seeing stories of hope, and reading biographies of people that struggle with things, or watching documentaries or movies where people have struggled, stuff like that, and just telling people things that have helped me, and just encouraging people. Those are things that I like to do. I think number one is listen to people when they need help. Sometimes people just need to unload on you, if that makes sense. And
Yeah.
my wife feels the brunt of that sometimes, but sometimes I just have to
Mine too.
I just sometimes have to be like, blah, 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 blah. I feel better. Let's go eat. She's like,
Yeah. Thank you.
like it's like, well, yeah. Like, I give you an example. It's funny because being bipolar, I guess you think of things differently.
Yeah.
We went, a group of us here, me and 12 college students went to Denny's one night, those close to finals. We went to Denny's together to eat, and it was like late. I turned up home about midnight. It was like 1:30. She texted me, "Where you at?" And I said, "I'll see you in about an hour." She says, "Okay." Well, a guy came in Denny's with a gun and held up the place instead of us, and we just stayed there and ate. And I kind of got home and was like, I told her, I'm going to bed. She goes, "Well, I need to talk about it." I'm like, okay. But I say that to say that it's I say that to say that it's just interesting, because I kind of laughed and shrugged it off, and now it's something serious. And she goes, "I'll never understand you, because things that just doesn't, like," she goes, "things that aren't a big deal will just make you cry, and this doesn't is a big deal to you." I say that as it was serious, but we were okay, and we kind of laughed about it afterwards.
No, I get it.
Because the joke was, we went to Denny's all these years and nothing happened. You come and now this happens.
Right.
But that's the thing with someone bipolar, is you can have something major happen and they seem fine, and then just something small triggers them. And so don't try to make too much sense out of it. Just listen to them. And if it doesn't make sense to you, just be like, "I don't understand it, but I'm here for you."
Yeah.
And that's sometimes the best thing you can do. And that's how I can offer people hope is, I just tell them again, we have a Savior that loves us. We have Jesus Christ that loves us. He died for us. He 3 days later, he came back to life, and he wants to have a relationship with us. And, and there's people out there that care. And, I want to say this, be careful on social media. I like social media. There's good things, but just because someone says something about something doesn't mean you have to listen to it. And if people are toxic and they're not helping you, just be nice about it and say, "That's not helping me." They can mean well, but it might not help you.
I get it, man. Totally. Yeah. Well, hey, Jeremy, we got to go, man. But thank you. I hate to cut it off, but we gotta go. We've been having so much fun. We lost track of time, man. So we got.
It's cool.
But thank you so much for being here. I so appreciate you being able to being willing to talk about this, and I'm so thankful that we got this opportunity. Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
And we'll see if we can find another time to get you back on here. But for today, I appreciate it. Thank you, and we'll talk to you later.
All right. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Next show, Friday, July 21st. Friday, July 21st, Dave Nordell. He's going to be talking about living with moral injury from the military, from his experience in the military. You're not going to want to miss it. Join us. It's going to be amazing. Till then, have an amazing day. We'll see you next time.